Welcome to Global Information Security Society for Professional of Pakistan.
Assalamu alaikum. So जी ये वीडियो हमारी है on Microsoft SysInternals. We are basically going to cover what it is, what tools are included in SysInternals, and we will also cover some of these tools in more depth. A little introduction about myself. My name is Syed Hasan. I am currently employed as a forensics and incident response engineer at a local firm at Karachi, and I do use SysInternals as part of my day-to-day forensics work. So let's get to it. Because of Microsoft SysInternals is basically just a suite of tools. You can use it for a wide range of tasks. Maybe you want to administer your Windows host, maybe you want to monitor them using Sysmon, or maybe you want to manage them better, or maybe analyze the processes which are open, or the DLLs that they have, or the handles that they are currently using. So you can easily do that. By default, the Windows uses Task Manager to assist you in your administration or management of a Windows environment. But even if you have used it for anything other than that, you would notice that it is just not enough. So SysInternals basically grows on that and allows and gives you the ability to administer or manage your Windows environments much better. So currently it has over 70 plus tools in itself. It was initially launched by Mark Russinovich and Bryce Cogwell at Winterless Software, but later acquired by Microsoft. And after acquisition, it was renamed to SysInternals. Now, currently, it is open for downloads at Microsoft TechNet website. You can easily download it for free, and these are basically portable executables. So you do not have to install anything. These are already compiled and ready for execution. Okay, so like I said, SysInternals has over 70 plus tools. Unfortunately, we cannot cover all of them in a single video. So what I've done is I've gathered a list of must-know tools, and we will be covering them in detail in the next few slides. I'll first go over the theoretical section and explain what these tools are, and then maybe we'll see practically on a live Windows system that how and what you can do with these tools. Alright, so if you've ever used Task Manager before, you've seen that it does show the processes on a system, but the information it returns about a particular process, it is not enough. Even if it is enough for you, it is not presented in a more usable format, and you cannot export that information for usability into a different tool maybe. ProcessExplorer, on the other hand, it provides you much more detailed information about a particular process or an application which is currently running on a Windows system. You can triage processes, you can identify the handles, the DLLs that particular process is using, as well as the threads. Along with that, you can identify the resource consumption for that process, the strings which that process has, both the in-memory as well as the image-based strings. When I refer to the image, it is actually the executable itself. Along with that, you can view the security privileges which is assigned to that process. And you can also submit the hash of that particular process to VirusTotal for a scan. This can help you identify if the process has already been flagged as a malicious executable, and if it has, then you can maybe kick off your forensics investigation. Let's take a look at ProcessExplorer, and I will quickly shift my screen to, if you can take a look. So this is ProcessExplorer, the system, right? So this is basically showing all the processes which are currently executing on my system, and it is in a process tree format because I've enabled it. I think this is the one. Okay, I think this is because I've already enabled it. So this is the tree-like format, and I can view the processes which are executing on the system. For example, if I go into PowerShell and the properties, I can view the image, the path that is executing from, the command line arguments, the current directory, the parent, the user, the start time, the comment. I've also actually submitted this to VirusTotal before, so you can see that there are 0 detections out of 76 on VirusTotal. The performance, which is likely going to have CPU, disk usage, handles, virtual and physical memory, performance again, GPU graphs, threads, all threads for that particular process. If it has any internet connections, established any internet connections, you can view them in TcpIP in this window. Security, you can identify the user which is currently executing this process, as well as the privileges which are assigned to that particular user. The environment variables, the job, and now the strings, These string variable are both from the image as well as from the memory. So you can view both these strings, and you can identify if some of these can be used for maybe a detection rule set based on Yara or a different tool. Next up, we have Process Monitor or Procmon. Procmon is a system-wide monitoring tool. It can help you identify changes on a system based on the file system, the registry, as well as process activity. Let's say you try to execute a process on a system, and you wish to see what changes it tries to make. So you could capture that process, the image path, the command line arguments, the user and the session IDs, the registry changes it tries to make, or the registry keys it tries to queries, as well as the file system changes. Maybe it tries to read a file, maybe it tries to write to a file. You can view them. One of the best features of Procmon is its powerful filtering capabilities. And when you pair this with its non-destructive nature, it is the best. What do I mean by this? If I could just shift to a demonstration. Now this is Procmon once I've just opened this. As soon as I start capturing events, you can see that it is trying to capture over 45,000 events as we speak. If I could just pause them, and you can see what it has done. There are multiple events on that system, on my system, which are being currently which were monitored at the time of capture. So you can see the registry query values, the registry key query value again, the query information, create file. We can see this is ProcessExplorer as well. Then we have thread exit, then you have close file, create file, and more such data. Now, if I go to the filters tab, and what I can do is, if I could just show you, let's see, I want to just see if there are events related to PowerShell Explorer. So what I can do is, sorry, I meant PowerShell. If I could go into P, and we can see PWSH, right? Okay, just add them. So you could see that it just added PowerShell here. If I could just apply filter, you could see it has filtered over 76,000 events, but it has not destroyed them. So if I reset the filtering, I can view the 76,000 events again. I can view all that information again. Now if I try to explore this information in detail, you can see the event properties, the image which is basically linked with that particular event, the modules it has, the parent ID, the process ID, session ID, architecture, all that information, the user which is currently running that process, everything is here. Now let's say you want to filter based on the operation, and I want to say only try to see if there are registry set operations. I can apply that, and you can see these are the keys which are set during execution of our demonstration. Again, if I just start capturing again, you can see that it has started capturing those events again, and the events are increasing here. I can save them to a file if I want, and we can take a look at that later as well. Next up, we have System Monitor or Sysmon. Sysmon is an advanced monitoring tool for a Windows environment. If you've used Windows logging before, you know that it does not log many items that it definitely should by default. Process creations, network communication, and file modifications are just a few to mention. However, Sysmon does have these capabilities. It is registered as a system service on a Windows environment and a device driver as well. So once your system boots up, Sysmon begins its monitoring phase. It can help you identify malware, intrusions, and breaches within a network if someone does monitor the Sysmon log. So what it does is it logs all those process creations, network communications, file modification, DLL changes, DLL usage, and many more fields in a log source. So if you begin installation of Sysmon, actually it is one of the tools which does require installation on a Windows environment. It is not a portable executable itself. So first, you need a configuration file. In a configuration file, you can help identify what events or what categories of events you want to monitor. Maybe I just want to monitor process execution. And I would also like to exclude processes which I know are whitelisted. Maybe I do not want to monitor Opera, the browser. Maybe I do not want to monitor my Chrome, which is also a browser. So I can mention those changes in the configuration file and then install Sysmon with that configuration. Once it's installed, Sysmon begins monitoring and logging these changes under applications and services logs, which you can view in your Windows event viewer. For better monitoring, you can also forward these events which are generated by Sysmon to a central logging system or a SIM for better monitoring. Unfortunately, I do not have a demonstration for Sysmon at the moment as it is not installed on my system, but the installation is fairly easy and it begins logging changes or events on your system fairly quickly. Next up, we have AutoRuns. AutoRuns, as the name suggests, can help you find all AutoStart applications, services, scheduled tasks, known DLLs, the boot execute keys, or maybe a different registry key which can help you identify applications which are scheduled to start at the boot up of your Windows environment. It can help you cover much more sources than a different tool, and we also have several other features which can aid in our investigation. One of the optional features is to hide signed executables which belong to Microsoft. A different feature is to hide all empty locations. Thirdly, we also have virus total checks, so it can submit the hash of your executable or the task or a different key or value to virus total and check if the hash matches a malicious hash. It also allows you to delete the entries which you're going to find in the AutoRuns output, as well as disable them if you have administrative privileges. If I can quickly shift to the demonstration, we can take a look at AutoRuns. All right, so here it is. Now you can take a look at the scheduled tasks I have currently open. Other than the scheduled tasks, we have services, the drivers, the codecs, the boot execute keys, LSA providers, Explorer keys, image hijacks, Office startups. We can review these here, and known DLLs which are set to auto execution, as well as everything else in the same window. So if I go into logon and I wish to disable the Adobe startup execution, I can just quickly click this, but it is denying me access since I'm not an administrator. So I have to restart the process, the AutoRuns GUI process, and once I've assigned it the privilege, I can disable the key and stop my execution. Next up, we have PsExec. PsExec is a remote execution utility which you can use to launch interactive command prompts or execute programs on remote systems. By default, PsExec creates a service of itself, which is PsExec SVC, and a named pipe on the remote system to assist in its execution. It requires SMB, file and print sharing, and the admin $share, which is the administrative share on the remote system, to be enabled if you wish to use PsExec. Usually, administrators use PsExec to take control of systems in their environment and administer them or execute programs which might be related to updates or a different category. It can also be used by malusers. For example, APT groups have used PsExec to take control of systems in the environment and laterally move in order to execute their malicious payloads. One of the examples commands is PsExec, the IP address, the username and the password, and then the command that you wish to execute. This is going to return you the output of ipconfig on the specified host if the permissions are granted and the required services, which I've mentioned before, are enabled. Okay, so next up we have TcpView, which can help you identify all TCP UDP connections which are established by processes on your workstation. The output is basically similar to netstat, but it is you could say it is presented in a much better format. You can identify the packet sent, the byte sent, the remote port, the remote IP address, the local and port and address as well as the protocol, the PIDs, and the process information. We're going to see this in a short demonstration next, but again, you also have access to the command line version for TcpView, which is TcpVcon. It is shipped in the same distribution for SysInternals, and you can access that once you've downloaded the zip file. Now, if I can transition to TcpView, you can see that these are the processes which are open on my system and are currently establishing connections. So you can see these are established connections by the following process. For example, Opera is trying to connect to this remote address on this port, and the state is established. These are the bytes sent, the bytes received. This can also help you identify malware beacons and can be used in your forensics investigation to help identify TCP or UDP connections. Next up, we have PsLoggedOn and LogonSessions. PsLoggedOn can help you identify currently logged in users on a particular system. This includes both local as well as remote logons and resource shares as well. Next, we have LogonSessions, which can help you identify all active logon sessions on a particular system. You are going to be shocked with the amount of results it returns and the number of logons which are currently or which are actually active at a particular time. It also has the capability of returning the process of a particular logon. For example, what I mean by a process is that let's say the user has logged on and begin execution of PowerShell. So what you can do is you can identify that logon session and you can also identify all processes which are executing under that logon. So PowerShell will definitely be included. Now, if I could shift to my command prompt and we can just take that out of there. Alright, so if we have PsLoggedOn here, we can see that there's only one user which is logged on, which is myself, and I was logged on that date, and there is no resource share on my system. Next, if we try to execute logon sessions, the 64-bit, you can see that there are 11 logons on my system right now. Uh, what it means by right now is it could have been a system logon, maybe a service logon or a bash script logon, which maybe I would have scheduled on my system. But let's say we try to see if I can find out my particular system right. Oh, sorry, I mean my particular logon session right now. Then, all right, maybe we should take a look at what argument it accepts. All right, so yeah, so if I want the process information, I can write -p, the p flag, and you can see that this is my logon session, and I'm currently interactively logged on to that particular system, and these are the processes which are executing on my system. So this is the information which logon session presents to you for all logon sessions on that system. This is available for every information. You can see that these are the services host. So this is likely my service lifetime logon, yeah, and the username is entity authority and local service. So these information you can correlate if you already know more about the Windows system. So if you try to delete something on your system, on your file system, the file system actually just marks it as deleted, but the data is actually not removed until it is overwritten by something else. So forensic tooling can still recover data on your file system if it has not been overwritten. sDelete, on the other hand, can help you delete information, files, or folders in a much more secure manner, such that no tool can recover that particular information. It is used for handling classified information, and it can also be used by threat actors. Actually, we have seen it being used by threat actors to wipe their malware after installation or execution or after lateral movement. Uh, it can also be used by disk wipers, which completely wipe the file system off of hard disk and it is left unusable. Detailed working is also available on sDelete. Uh, this includes how it works, how it was programmed, and more such detail. Now, if I can shift to the command prompt window, we can take a look at the help commands here. Right, so we have sDelete, we have the number of passes which it's going to take, and it basically specifies the number of override passes. So if I specified one as one, it is only overwritten once. If I specify, let's say, we go and we say, let's override this 3 times, and I'm going to specify the the, the folder, I think the test.txt, yeah. If I can specify this, now if you have any other requirements, I don't think so. We do not want -r, we do not want subdirectory, we do not want 0 free space, which is I think it's fine. And I think files deleted is equals to 1. Now if I go into test data and ls there, so we can see that there's nothing here. So the file is securely deleted. Now you can explore more such options using sDelete, and you can also review reports on how malware authors and threat actors use sDelete to wipe their malware. Next up, we have Sigcheck, which can help you identify versions, timestamps, hashes, signatures, and the signing nature of the files on a particular file system, folder, or partition. So you can also submit files from Sigcheck to VirusTotal, and you can review if a particular file matches the hash of a well-known malware. Now, one of the examples command for Sigcheck is -u -vt, and the path in which you wish to with which you wish to see if all files are signed or not. Now, if I can quickly shift to the demonstration window, and all right, so here's the help window for Sigcheck, and we can see that all right, so the command I previously wrote was -u, where -u is if VirusTotal check is enabled, we're going to see if we're going to see all those files which are unknown by VirusTotal, right, and or have non-zero detections. Otherwise, we will not show them and only show unsigned files, right? Next, we had VT, which is for the VirusTotal. You must accept their terms and conditions, and then only then can you use it, right? So if I can simply execute the same command, actually I will show you how to execute on my system by on this particular folder that I'm in SysInternals suite by using -h, where -h is show file hashes. So if I just quickly run this, you can see that it has begun execution, and as soon as it ends, or maybe I can just quit it for you. Alright, so if I just quit it, you can see that let's say we pick this process, not the process, a process executable, and it is verified. Yes, it is signed. Signing date was 9/19 when it's 9/17/2020. The publisher is Microsoft Corporation. The company is internals. The description, the product version, file version, machine type, and these are the hashes. Now you can also review these hashes and maybe submit them manually to VirusTotal or enable the VT check. Let's try to enable them. VT-u. Let's see if this works. If we're going to have a file that is not available on VirusTotal or has non-zero detections, then we can review them. All right, so you can see that some of these files do have a VirusTotal detection, 1 out of 76, 1 out of 76. These are likely false positives, and if you do wish to review them, you can then also review the VT link, the VirusTotal link, which is provided with the output. So that can help you identify if the output is actually correct or not. Lastly, we have streams. Alternate data streams is an ability of an NTFS file system to store something in a particular file along with the default data stream as well. These alternate data streams can be used by malware authors to hide malicious commands and can be used in the runtime to basically extract that command from the alternate data stream and execute them. Now, if I can quickly show you a demonstration of how we can do so, let's see. Let's say I go into my SysInternals suite. Since I go into test data and I add a scat file, right? So this is one of the files that I've created, and let's say I wish to write something in the data stream. I want to say I am a malicious command. And I want to write it to cat.txt and its mal command data stream. This is how I can create an alternate data stream. But if I try to DIR into it, I cannot see anything in it, can I? You can just see the cat.txt, and even if I open it in Notepad, you're not going to see anything else. Let's see if I can. Yeah, you're going to see it just has hi in it, but not the I'm a malicious command. So how can I review it? There are two ways. Either I can run the dir command. I'm not sure this is going to work. All right, so this is an error, but secondly, what I can do is I can go and run streams, and I can say go into test data and go into cat and show me all the data streams. So here's how you can see that the mal command, I can review that here's a stream mal command, and here's a separate stream note. There's going to be one more stream which is the default stream, and it is going to contain the data which says hi. So streams can help you identify these, and can also help you these alternate data streams, and can also likely help you. If I could just clear this out. All right.
So I can delete the streams from that particular file. So if I go in and say -t test data and then cat again, and it has just deleted my alternate data stream. So if I go to test data and I go, alright, sorry, if I go and say show me the streams for this file, it does not have any alternate data streams. It is because we have deleted all those streams and there's nothing left.
With that said, we're going to conclude our presentation on Microsoft SysInternals. I really hope I've given you a quick kickstart as to how you can use the toolset in your own environment and on your own use cases. If there was any issue with the quality of the video, or if you have any feedback you'd like to share with us, please feel free to do so we may improve our content in later videos. Again, thank you very much for listening to the video and for joining me in this learning session. Thank you and Allah Hafiz.